When my daughter's birthday wish was for my disappearance, I faced a devastating truth. The air felt thick that afternoon, almost electric, as if the world was holding its breath. It was supposed to be a joyful day, a birthday party with balloons dancing in the breeze and presents piled high, but instead, an eerie shadow loomed over the celebration. As the clock struck 3, my daughter Emma whispered the wish that would change everything: "I want Dad to disappear." Her words sliced through the laughter and chatter like a knife, leaving a bone-chilling silence. The room froze. That heart-dropping moment wasn't just the innocence of a child's temper tantrum over one too many chores. No, it felt like the entire universe had shifted in that instant. Teeth clenched, I struggled to process her request. What did she mean? Why would she want me gone? The look on her little face was a mix of anger and something deeper, a feeling I couldn't put my finger on, and it terrified me. The sudden chill sent tremors up my spine. Around us, balloons bobbed lazily, unaware of the dark cloud forming above our heads. Emma's friends were still eating cake, their laughter echoing against the walls, yet to me, it sounded distant, muffled, as if I were underwater. My heart raced. I felt as if something monstrous was living beneath the surface of this innocent gathering, something I had failed to see. Just as the laughter bubbled up again, I heard murmurs from the adults, a shaky whisper, an incredulous gasp. I caught fragments. Did she really say that? What kind of child wishes for their parent to vanish? Disapproving glances shot my way, and I could feel the weight of their judgment on my shoulders, each look a dagger digging deeper into my self-worth. And then, a voice broke through the haze, sharper than any knife. It was my sister, her face a mask of disbelief. What is going on? Are you okay? I found it impossible to answer, my throat tight, the lump barely allowing air into my lungs. Emma's gaze shifted away from me, her eyes glued to the cake, her element of joy. How could she feel happy when I stood there, feeling like a ghost in my own home? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The laughter faded just as quickly as it had come. The room felt like it was collapsing. I was lost in turmoil, a wave of instincts battling within me. Part of me wanted to laugh it off, pretend it was just a joke, while another part couldn't shake the deep, clawing fear that set in. What was happening in my daughter's heart? And that when I realized I didn't know my daughter as well as I thought. Here she was, on the day meant to celebrate her, and in the blink of an eye, everything felt wrong. Was this a call for help? Or was it something more sinister, something buried deep within her innocent facade? The very foundation of our lives felt under threat, and the only thought that pounded through my mind was, what happens next? Panic surged as I watched Emma's face, the shadows of laughter still hanging in the air like a dense fog. Her birthday party, with its bright decorations and cheerful guests, morphed into a scene from a twisted nightmare. I was trapped in a labyrinth of confusion, unable to decipher the puzzle that was my daughter's heart. That my sister stepped closer, a barely contained urgency in her voice. You need to talk to her. But how? Words felt heavy in my mouth, each syllable a mountain to climb. Instead, I took a step back, my chest tightening as bewilderment twisted my gut like a vice. Emma's slight frame seemed so small, the weight of her wish unbearable, echoing in the silence like an unanswered prayer. Emma? I managed, my voice apprehensive and trembling. The crowd's attention had shifted. All the laughter faded to whispers and muffled conversations. Everyone was watching, waiting. She glanced at me, her expression unreadable, and a flicker of something. Regret? Frustration? Flashed before her eyes, returned to the cake. The sugary confection, a colorful mountain of icing and candles, appeared mockingly vibrant against the bleak realization that enveloped me. My daughter wanted me gone. Maybe she was joking. Kids say silly things, right? Maybe. What do you want me to do, Emma? I pressed, desperation rising in my throat. Silence stretched. My heart hammered, each beat punctuating the tension that wrapped around us. The air felt heavy with unspoken truths. She looked up slowly, as if peeling back layers of her thoughts. I just want you to stop being so mean, she stammered, her voice wavering. With those words, a shard of ice lodged itself in my chest. Mean? How was I mean? I couldn't recall a moment where I purposefully hurt her. You don't listen, she added, glancing at the ground. You just don't understand. A rush of guilt flooded over me. Had I really become that father? Was I so consumed by my own life that I had failed to see her struggling underneath the surface? The thought made my stomach churn. Before I could respond, a sharp cry pierced the stillness. It came from one of Emma's friends, who dropped a plate, shards scattering across the floor. Instantly, all eyes turned to the child. The brief distraction shattered the tension, but I felt the grip of reality tightening once more. We were letting this moment slip away. Emma, wait. I was losing her. I stepped closer, urgency in each stride. I'm listening now. Please, help me understand. What do you want, sweetheart? She stood there, glancing between me and her friends, toenails digging into the plush carpet. The brightness of her birthday cake now felt like a backdrop to the storm brewing within her, a tempest that could erupt at any moment. She began, hesitation hanging in the air, as fragile as a suspended breath. I want you to be happy, like you used to be. Those words fell heavily, each one a weight on my soul. Happy? Was that what she saw? I felt the cracks forming in my facade. It hit me like a freight train. Maybe this was never about disappearance. It was about a cry for help. A plea to fix what had been fractured between us. Suddenly, a fleeting thought ignited. Could this be the wake-up call I needed? Would I have the courage to change? Just as I contemplated my next move, the lights flickered ominously, plunging the room into darkness for a heartbeat. The power returned with a loud pop, blaring lights revealing frayed wires and chaos. Not only was my daughter's innocence at stake, but something more sinister lurked in the shadows. I turned back to Emma, but she was gone. The crowd was beginning to panic, friends were crying, parents were searching. My heart raced, dread creeping in. Where was she? Just moments ago, we stood on the edge of a breakthrough. Now, I was staring into an abyss of uncertainty and fear that threatened to swallow me whole. Emma. My voice choked as I called out. Suddenly, a chilling realization washed over me. This birthday wasn't just a day of celebration. It was the pit where our lives threatened to unravel. The journey to find her would uncover truths I never imagined existed, and perhaps the darkest secrets of all were still lurking, waiting to be unearthed. What had I unleashed? Panic enveloped the room, every heartbeat amplifying the silence that followed Emma's disappearance. Guests stumbled over their own fears, laughter replaced by cries of alarm. I needed to find her. I needed to make sure she was safe. But which way was she? Emma. I shouted again, my voice slicing through the chaos, desperation lighting the way. The bright decor warped into a carnival of dread, balloons bobbing against the ceiling like forgotten hope. Check the backyard. My sister called, her face pale and taut. Responding to her urgency, I cut through the crowd, shoving past parents who were now frantically searching for their own children. Each push felt like an extra gallon of dread poured into my gut. Glimmers of light from mobile phones illuminated faces, some masks of worry, others painted with confusion. I reached the sliding glass door leading to the yard and stopped. A visceral chill wrapped around me as I stepped outside. The garden was cloaked in shadows, the night air thick and oppressive. The sounds of the celebration dimmed, replaced by the rustle of leaves whispering secrets I was desperate to decode. Emma. I called again, my voice growing hoarse. Nothing. Only the distant sound of traffic, a reminder of the outside world that felt impossibly far away. Then, I caught a glimpse of something, movement from the corner of my eye. I turned, hope flickering like a dying bulb. There, by the swings, a figure. It was her, but her back was to me. Emma. Relief surged through me, but it was quickly laced with urgency, a fear I couldn't shake. As I approached, I noticed she was standing rigid, staring into the darkened woods beyond the yard. I stepped closer, uncertainty gnawing at my resolve. Emma, please, I urged softly. Come back inside. Let us talk. She didn't move, her small shoulders quivering slightly. It was then I saw her reflection in a puddle, eyes wide with something I couldn't quite understand. Fear? Anger? Or something deeper, something that seemed to drag her into that darkness? Emma, look at me, I pleaded, stepping closer, heart racing. I don't want to go back. She shouted suddenly, her voice sharp and raw. You don't understand. Then help me understand. I cried. You have to talk to me. What do you think I'm doing? I'm trying. Silence hung, heavy as night. Her small fists clenched, and I watched as a storm brewed behind her eyes. For a moment, she seemed lost in thought, the turmoil of her emotions spinning around like autumn leaves caught in a whirlwind. Then, just like that, it was gone. It doesn't matter. She screamed, her voice echoing against the whispering trees. You'll never change. You'll never listen. I stumbled back, her words hitting me like cold water. They cut to the quick, the truth in them blistering and raw. I hadn't wanted to confront that. But before I could regroup, she turned, darting towards the trees like a shadow slipping into the night. Emma. No. I cried. A panic surged hotter now as I trailed after her. I raced into the darkness, branches snagging my shirt. Each step felt like heading deeper into a void where reality slipped away. I called out her name again, trapping the sound between the trees, hoping it would guide her back to me, and then, just as I caught up, I heard whispers, a low, haunting sound echoing from within the woods. My breath hitched. Were they real? Or was it my mind digging deeper into a well of dread? I had to keep moving. I focused, pushing forward through the dense underbrush, my heart pounding like a drum in a haunted parade. Suddenly, I emerged into a small clearing, moonlight spilling over the ground. There she was, standing still, her back to me again. But she wasn't alone. Shadows flickered around her, shapes without form, whispering her name in a chorus I couldn't comprehend. Emma. I shouted, urgency clawing at my throat. Get away from them. But she didn't react. My terror froze me in place, 1,000 questions spinning in my mind. Who were they? Why was she here? Emma. Just then, a hand shot out from the shadows toward her, grasping greedily. I could feel my heart drop into the pit of my stomach. What was happening? My vision narrowed, panic taking hold in a way I had never known. I rushed towards her, adrenaline surging. Emma. No. As I lunged forward, the shadows flickered like a mirage, revealing flashes of eyes in the dark, watching me intently. Something dark hung in the air, and just as I reached her, I was swept away into chaos, swallowed by the unknown. But the shadows weren't finished with me yet. They had enshrouded my daughter in a web of secrets, holding the truth hostage. Where was she going? What had I truly unleashed? The whispers intensified, swirling around me like smoke, pulling at my mind, taunting my instincts. I strained to reach Emma, yet the shadows were unyielding, closing in fast, swallowing me in their gooey darkness. I could see her now, her small frame trembling, caught in something I couldn't comprehend. Emma. I called again, desperation painting my voice, straining against the heaviness of the night. I pushed forward, but the ground felt like quicksand beneath my feet, hesitant to let go of me. The air crackled with tension, and the shadows pressed closer, whispering phrases that melted into an indecipherable hum. I could almost make out words, calls that churned like distant thunder, then, amid that consuming void, cut bursts of clarity bloomed. You can't have her. I yelled, every ounce of protective instinct channeling through me. As I lunged for Emma, a wave of cold washed over me, a sensation that caused my limbs to tremble. Suddenly, one shadow detached itself from the rest, a figure forming slowly, taking a step toward me. It was tall, its edges hazy. I forced my gaze upwards, dread settling like a stone in my stomach. Leave her alone. My voice cracked, authority not grounding my plea, but filling it with terror. I didn't want to look away, but I felt the entity's presence curl around me, captivating yet unyielding. It is what she desires, the voice dripped like honey, sweet and sinister. Emma flinched, her eyes darting toward the figure, and something inside me shattered. No. Emotions roared through me as I surged forth, mindless of the danger. You don't know what she really wants. A cacophony of laughter erupted from the shadows, mockery spiraling through the night air, spirals of dark joy grating against my senses. Oh, but we do, a childlike voice echoed back maliciously, the chorus of shadows melding into one. Suddenly, Emma turned to me, her eyes wide and glimmering with a reflection of the moon. It felt like a lifeline, yet her silent sincerity screamed louder than words. Daddy, please. Time stretched unbearably, a taut string about to snap as I reached for her. The darkness slackened, but not enough for me to grab her hand, her gaze suddenly distant, like she was trapped underwater. They understand me, they listen, they care, she uttered, each word feeling like a dagger that widened the chasm forming between us. No, Emma. I fought back, fear igniting an urge deeper than anything I had ever felt. They don't. The laughter turned sharper, reverberating with malice as the figure grew darker. I grimaced against its echo. You think you can rescue her? It echoed malevolently. I pushed forward, the world around me spinning, the gravity of my daughter inching further away. But the shadows swelled around us, elongating, warping in frightening ways. A sharp pain shot through my chest as the unity of our connection bent before me, a tether fraying. Then, just as hope flickered, Emma blinked, the emotion in her eyes shifting drastically from fear to something stronger. I don't want to be saved. She shouted fiercely, startling the atmosphere. My heart plummeted. Emma. I forced out, panic thickening my blood. What are you saying? The shadows quivered, pulling back slightly, and I seized the moment to bind my fear with determination. We need to leave. But her gaze unwavering, anchored by the shadows that danced like fire around her, she only whispered, I want what they offer. Her words fell like a silent bomb, detonating the fragility of our bond. In that moment, I felt every emotion rush through me, betrayal, panic, grief before I could even process them. I took a step back, choked with disbelief. What do you mean? The shadows eagerly crept closer, and suddenly, I was screaming out of rage and sorrow, the world clinging to a thin thread as darkness surged, threatening to take my daughter away forever. Was I losing her? How could this happen on her birthday? In that split second of revelation, every horror of every parent uncoiled in my chest. She had wished for this. What had I placed in her heart? I charged forward again, battling the looming dread. Just as I lunged for her, the figure raised a hand to block me, frozen yet resolute. Stop. The figure commanded like a falling hammer. And then, as if reality paused, I heard a voice from the shadows that made my blood run cold. You have to choose, save her, or let her go. The weight of silence enveloped us. What would I sacrifice? What was I willing to lose? As the night blurred into a maelstrom of uncertainty, I knew I had to decide quickly. One decision could either shatter everything or bring her back. What could I give up, and would it truly bring her home? The shadows pulsed around us like living creatures, vibrant with hungry anticipation. The figure standing between Emma and me shifted, its dark face unreadable, and the air thickened with expectation. The choice loomed before me like a chasm at the edge of a cliff. Choose, or the darkness wins, the voice echoed, a chorus of dark delight intertwining with sinister urgency. My heart raced, reverberating in my chest, drowning out everything else. Could I let her go? Could I give up what was left of my connection to her? Please. Emma's voice pierced through the chaos, soft yet resolute. It wrapped around my heart, squeezing with both warmth and frost. You don't understand. What could she possibly understand that I didn't? Everything was distorted, twisted by the eerie mockery of the shadows. The figure leaned closer, intent in its dark allure. Emma's expression morphed with a haunting intensity, merging fear with an unsettling calm. "Daddy!" She cried again, her plea a desperate anchor in the storm of my thoughts. "They can give me what I want. I need this." What she said cut deeper than a blade. Her need felt like a betrayal. Fear shadowed my thoughts, each second echoing with the possibility of loss. What had I done to lead her to this point? Had I closed off the love she needed, inadvertently pushing her towards something unnatural? No. I shouted, the word tearing from my throat like a guttural agony. I won't let this happen. Not like this. But the shadows exhaled a haunting laughter, an anthem of triumph. "You underestimate her wishes." The figure's voice curled around the syllables like smoke. It seemed to gather strength as the shadows thickened, and I felt them drag at my mind, wrestling me from the inside out. With every heartbeat, visions of the past flooded my mind. Her laughter, the light in her eyes, the stories I told her at bedtime. How had I let things become so twisted, so dark? A wave of desperation surged through me, and I pushed against the unseen shackles binding my feet. "You don't want this, Emma. You're my daughter." I felt the crack in my voice, the wild hope trying to break free. She looked up at me then, and in that flickering moment, I saw the real Emma, the little girl who carried a bright light, a light the shadows could never dim. "Daddy." The word was both a cry and an affirmation. "I'm trying to find my own way." Tears blurred my vision. I thought I had lost her. But what about me? What about us? Do you even know what you're fighting for? Her words sliced through the shadows, momentarily dislodging the oppressive darkness. It felt like a breath of fresh air, a moment of clarity. The shadows recoiled, hissing softly. "She knows the price." The figure stepped aside slightly, revealing Emma half enshrouded in darkness, glowing just enough that I could see the flicker of her spirit. The choice hung heavy in the air. Would I let her go deeper into this world she desired? Or would I sacrifice everything to pull her back into the light? "Emma," I whispered, raw anguish wrapping around the name, clinging tightly. "What if I can't bear to lose you?" She hung her head, shadows dancing across her features. "What if it's already too late?" The question resonated, a bell tolling in the stillness. A tremor ran through me. Was this fate? Was I too late to save the daughter I thought I knew? The shadows coiled tighter, their laughter echoing with cruel delight as I felt a crushing weight in my chest. "Tell me what you truly desire." I roared against the darkness, searching for an answer that might break through the fog. What if her desire was the very thing I feared most? But as the figure loomed larger, the shadows tightened their grip, whispering promises I could never understand. I took a step back, a tortured breath escaping my lips. What if I refused to choose? The figure laughed, a sound like shattering glass. "Then the choice will be made for you." Darkness surged, and I reached out, heart racing, desperate to pull Emma from the abyss. But could I save her without losing myself in the process? In that moment, I knew the truth. I had to make a decision, and time was running out. Would I plunge into the shadows, or could I find a way to save her without losing everything? As I steadied my resolve, the figure smiled, an unsettling grin that churned my insides. "The moment approaches, and the decision will change everything. Are you ready?" Could I possibly be ready for the repercussions of a choice that felt so inherently wrong? The shadows tightened their grip, and I braced for impact. "Can you truly save her, or is this just the beginning of the end?" Time seemed to stretch as if the world around us had snagged itself on the razor's edge of a moment, pausing to witness the inevitable. The shadowy figure remained, a looming specter, watching with a strange fascination, its anticipation a taut string ready to snap. The air was electric, my pulse echoed in a symphony of dread. "Choose," it hissed, the words slithering through the fog of desperation and uncertainty. The shadows pulsed, a silent march of chaos inching closer, feeding on my thoughts, my fears. "Emma." Her name rose from deep within me, a primal scream against the tide. You are my heart. Don't let them tell you what to want. I locked eyes with her, desperate to ignite the spark of recognition. Those eyes, once so radiant and trusting, now flickered with turmoil. I can't not anymore, she whispered, and the weight of her admission crushed me. It felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath my feet, a gaping void of agony. The shadows seemed to swell with victory, inching closer, as if to claim their prize. Then why did you call for me? I fought against the suffocating despair wrapping around my throat like a noose. If you don't want to be saved, why ask for help? I couldn't understand her thirst for what lay beyond our world. Her gaze bore into mine, fierce and haunted. Because I thought you could see beyond the haze, Dad. I thought you would want to help me find it. Help you find what? Panic surged in my veins, coursing through me like venom. An unspeakable truth loomed, dancing on the edges of my perception. I want to be free, she breathed, each word a grating stone in my gut. The darkness is my freedom. Don't you see? They have so much to offer: power, acceptance, everything you never gave me. Her declaration sliced through my resolve. So this is what it came down to. A dark, twisted union between my daughter and seeking her desires, however wrong they might seem. The shadows tasted my despair, palpable joy crackling in the air. No. The helplessness burned, searing through my insides. You aren't being accepted, Emma. You're being consumed. Laughter echoed around us, taunting, swirling like invisible smoke. You know nothing of her desires, the figure rumbled, drawing my attention back to its shape-shifting form, as if it thrived on the marital strife between father and daughter. With a sudden rush of determination, I focused on Emma. You think this is freedom? You don't need to sacrifice yourself for what they offer. You can have life. You have me. The shadows twitched, shielding us from my truth while softly mocking my plea. Love is not freedom, it's a burden, the figure replied. The contempt in its voice echoed through the dim air, channeling an undeniable fright that pulsed within me. Fear curled in my gut, tightening my muscles even further. And what of you? I spat, fighting against the tide inside. What have you lost in this pursuit? Each word felt like a march toward a confrontation. I might not know what Emma's heart craved fully, but I would not let the shadows dictate our fates. Emma's expression softened momentarily, confusion mingling with longing. What if I don't want to be saved? Emma, think. I gripped her shoulders, a lifeline as the shadows howled. You are not what they say you are. You are strong. Fight against this. The shadows wrapped themselves tighter around her, a physical manifestation of seduction drawing her deeper into darkness. I could see it now, hope shimmering through the cobwebs, flickering like a dying flame. Choose, it came again, a whisper that trembled with power and possibility. What choice? My mind raced, wrestling against the looming specter. Was it time to make a decision, regardless of the consequences? But in the chaos, a thought flickered: what if my refusal to choose sanctioned a fate darker than I could understand? Emma, I want to lose you. My voice held a desperate edge. What if you could have both? Your wishes without the darkness? Thunder rumbled overhead, and the shadows recoiled momentarily, surprising us both. Emma's eyes glinted with barely contained hope, and fear surged anew. Would you really fight for me? The figure trembled, its season of delight teetering on the edge of confusion. A chance to shift the balance between desire and despair. In that critical moment, I reached for a thread of courage. I will do whatever it takes, fight the darkness for you. But you need to want it. The silence that followed hung heavy and thick. Emma's gaze locked with mine, uncertainty warring with the burgeoning light I sensed within her. Could hope truly pierce this darkness? But before her voice could break free, the shadows surged forward, intent on sealing our fate. Time's up. The figure spat. Your choice must be made now. As they screamed and whipped around us, I held my breath, awaiting what would follow, a decision that could alter everything. Would I plunge into the darkness of despair, or could we rise into the light together? The moment felt fragile, the air charged with a choice that could bind us both to very different destinies. And then, silence fell, but every shadow held its breath, ready to unfurl its depths. What choice would I dare to make? Time hung like a heavy curtain, pressing down on us as I searched Emma's face for a flicker of doubt. The shadows pulsed, a black tide crawling closer, filling every space with their suffocating presence. I could feel them clawing at my skin, eager to pull me under a fate I had no intention of embracing. Emma. My voice rang out, a desperate lifeline cutting through the thickening shroud. You have to fight them. You have to want to come back. Her expression wavered. For a split second, I glimpsed the little girl I had raised innocent and full of dreams. But the shadows whispered secrets, wrapping around her heart like a vice. Dad, she started, her voice shaky. The shadows reacted, tightening their grip around her, a grotesque dance of temptation. I just want to feel to know I matter. Then fight. Remember when you used to climb trees, higher than anyone else? You loved feeling the wind rush through your hair, the thrill of being alive. The air crackled, filled with static tension. The figure before us flickered, a shifting mass of dark laughter. Ah, but that thrill comes with the risk of a fall, it crooned, tauntingly. Let her be. I yelled, my voice trembling despite the conviction behind it. The figure sneered, its form morphing like smoke whirling in the wind. Time is a luxury, something she's already forfeited for this false freedom. The words twisted my gut with dread. Freedom? What kind of freedom required a sacrifice like this? My heart numbed as I thought of losing her to this darkness. Emma, we can find a way to break free. We can discover what you truly want without all this. She hesitated, and I could see the shadows quivering, sensing her wavering resolve. I needed to push harder. You want to be accepted, but look at what you're giving up. You'll be lost. You're still my daughter, and I will fight for you. For a fraction of a second, I saw her eyes flare with defiance, a spark against the encroaching dark. The figure's expression soured, panic flared within its swirling depths. You have no power here, old man. It spat, jetting forward, shadows quaking around it. Maybe not alone, but together? We can conquer this. I shouted, desperation wrapping around my heart like a vice. This isn't just about you, Emma, this is about us. She seemed to shake off a moment of doubt, and for a heartbeat, the shadow stuttered, as if frightened by the sudden light burgeoning within her. Can I really trust you? Always. I shouted, my heart pounding, as I took a step closer, facing the figure. You're not just some pawn in their game. You're more than that. We will not let them take you. Thunder cracked through the sky once more, a threatening roar, and suddenly, the shadows hissed, recoiling with palpable fury. An avalanche of chaos erupted, swirling around us in a frenzy, seeking to drown out our bond. Fingers gripping into fists, I held my ground, drawing strength from the fight coursing through my veins. You are worth so much more than what they offer. I cried, ignoring the rising darkness threatening to swallow me whole. Then I'll try. Emma's voice broke through the tempest, faltering but strong. But it was enough. Within that fleeting moment of certainty, a fissure opened in the shadows, and a light flickered through, illuminating a path back to hope. The figure roared, its shape wobbling in confusion. No. You cannot choose light over the pleasures of the dark. Before us, time warped again, a moment stretching to infinity, taut with tension. Emma's determination lit a switch deep within me, igniting a fire that pushed me forward. Choose with me. We have the power to reclaim your life. I stretched my hand toward her, the shadows recoiling, thrashing in furious protest as the glimmer of light grew stronger. Please, Dad, don't let the darkness win. Emma grasped my hand, desperation mingling with burgeoning hope. But even as we grasped onto each other, echoes of foreboding rippled through the air. The figure gave one final bellow, dark tendrils latching onto Emma's leg, dragging her backward. You will pay for this betrayal. With every ounce of strength, I yanked her closer, battling against the predator who craved her despair. We won T back down. As the shadows writhed, a sharp crack sounded above us, the branches above trembling and splintering, which froze my heart with a new, imminent danger. And then, from the darkness, a brilliant light exploded, blinding us as we fought against the tide. I could barely breathe, the world imploding in furious chaos. Would we escape this fate, or would the shadows reclaim my daughter despite everything I risked? In that blinding moment, I held my breath, praying our choice would not just save her but shatter the very darkness that had tried to consume us. Would love light the way, or would we be swallowed whole by the void? The light surged, an explosion of brilliance cutting through the suffocating shadows like a knife through silk. A moment of clarity settled over me, clearer than anything I had ever experienced. The darkness hissed and writhed, struggling to maintain its grip. It was both thrilling and terrifying, like standing on the edge of a cliff, knowing the fall could destroy everything. Hold on, Emma. We're almost there. Just a little longer. I shouted, straining against the weight of the dark tendrils trying to pull her deeper into the abyss. My heart raced, and I could feel adrenaline coursing through my veins, every instinct screaming that we had to fight harder. Dad, I don't know if I can, Emma choked out, her voice breaking. I glanced down at her, and my pulse quickened. Her foot was enveloped in shadow, pulling her inch by inch into the void. The shadows slithered around her, like a serpent tightening its grasp. I couldn't let this happen. I wouldn't let it happen. Don't think about the shadows. Think about the light. Remember who you are. My voice trembled with the weight of my emotions. I saw her face flicker, hope and fear waging war behind her eyes. Suddenly, a crack thundered above us, and I instinctively shielded my head. The branches overhead splintered, raining down debris and chaos, adding to the confusion that swirled around us. But in that chaos, I spotted a faint glimmer in the far corner of the abyss, pulsing like a heartbeat. Emma. Do you see that? Follow the light. It's our way out. She blinked, uncertainty etched across her features. The shadows were relentless, clawing at her like hungry beasts. But I could see the fire beginning to light behind her eyes. I want to. She screamed, fueled by desperation. Then do it, Emma. Fight for us. Fight for your future. I pulled harder, feeling our connection strengthen with each desperate heartbeat. We had the power in our hands, the power to reclaim her life, the figure screeched, a chilling sound that echoed in my chest, resonating with every insecurity I had ever felt as a father. You fool. You think you can prevail? It lunged at me, dark hands grasping for my throat, but I stood firm, ready to defend the flickering light and the daughter I loved. Get away from my daughter. I roared, summoning every ounce of strength I had left. I felt a wave of energy surge through me, coiling tight like a spring ready to snap. With one final yank, I pulled Emma closer, our hands locking in a desperate grasp. The shadows recoiled, hissing as they diminished. Emma's eyes widened, what was once fear, now transformed into determination. I can break free. She shouted, a shockwave of conviction pouring from her. And with that declaration, a surge of light enveloped us completely, blinding and pure. I could see Emma's form glowing with brilliance, the shadows disintegrating around her like dust in the wind. My heart soared, but a chilling thought struck me in an instant. What if this wasn't just about saving her? What if our fight unleashed something greater, something we weren't prepared to face? In that blinding radiance, a silhouette loomed, a new figure emerging from the depths of the darkness, eyes glowing red with fury. You'll pay. You have no idea the consequences of your defiance. Before I could process what was happening, a vision flashed through my mind, faces from my past, choices I'd made, paths I had refused. I felt a deep weight in my chest as I realized that darkness didn't just want Emma, it wanted to exact a price, a debt I wasn't prepared to pay. As the light began to fade, I clutched Emma's hand tighter, panic seeping back in. What do we do now? My voice trembled, but Emma met my gaze, an ember of courage sparking in her expression. We stand together, Dad. No matter what comes next. The light flickered, and in the distance, echoes of laughter twisted with cries of rage. The shadows weren't gone, they were merely regrouping. Would we stand against an enemy that knew our darkest fears? With the stakes raised higher than ever, I took a deep breath, ready for whatever horrific truth awaited us next. What had I unleashed, and would our bond truly be enough to face it? The silence that followed that chilling declaration wrapped around us like a vice. The laughter echoed, mocking and insistent, sending shivers down my spine. This was no ordinary darkness, it was alive, swirling with a consciousness fed by our fears and regrets. "Emma, listen to me," I urged, as the shadows thickened and twisted around us, forming grotesque shapes that loomed large in the fading light. "We need to stay focused. We can't let it distract us." But the creature seemed undeterred, swirling around us with renewed vigor, its laughter rising to a triumphant roar. "You think you can fight me? You think your pathetic bond can save you? You've made deals, choices, and now you will pay." The echoes of my past choices tugged at my heart, each one a hook buried deep, pulling me down. Faces floated through my mind, friends I'd let down, dreams I'd abandoned, and a simple wish my daughter had made on her last birthday. My chest tightened with each recollection. She hadn't asked for toys or cake, she had wished for freedom from the burdens we carried. I shook my head, fighting back the waves of despair crashing over me. I had to pull Emma out of this. "Emma, remember what we found in the light. That strength is ours to wield." She nodded, but I could see the flicker of doubt in her eyes. "But what if this darkness is stronger? It knows us, Dad. It knows our worst fears. And that's exactly why we can't let it win. It's feeding off our insecurities." I shouted, clenching her hand tighter. "Together, we're stronger than this. Focus on the light, on us." With a deep breath, Emma closed her eyes, summoning every ounce of strength she possessed. As she did, I felt an energy pulse through me, a warmth igniting as our hands tightened together. The shadows shrieked in protest, swirling away from the light we were creating. "No. You think hope will save you? Hope is a weakness." The creature spat, its red eyes narrowing, venom spilling from its twisted smile. Suddenly, a strange sound filled the air like shattering glass, cutting through the malice that surrounded us. I had an idea, one that terrified me. "Emma, let us create a wall of light. Channel every piece of hope you have into it." I could see realization dawning in her eyes. "Together, Dad. Let us do this." As we summoned the light between us, it surged, pushing back the encroaching darkness. Blinding flashes erupted like fireworks, illuminating the abyss. But the moment of triumph felt fleeting as the shadows recoiled and then rushed at us with ferocity. "Fools! You're only delaying the inevitable." The creature bellowed, its fury palpable as it attacked, shadows coiling around our bodies like iron shackles, fighting against the weight that threatened to crush us. I felt my heart race. "Don't give in, Emma. We have to show them who we are." Her eyes burned bright with resolve. "I can feel them, Dad, all the pieces of us, the laughter, the love. They're coming back." As we pushed against the shadows, I began to see other figures emerging. They weren't just lost souls, they were fragments of memories, glimmers of our happy moments fighting to break free. I recognized a past birthday, a candlelit cake, the sound of laughter, the joy that once filled our home. That we fought harder, channeling that warmth into the dark, pushing against it with everything we had. The wall of light pulsed, tears of defiance streaming down Emma's cheeks as she unleashed everything she believed in. And then it struck me, the creature was terrified too. It was afraid of losing its grip on the power it wielded. "Remember, Emma. What you wished for on your last birthday wasn't just freedom from our burdens, it was a chance to live without fear." As the memories circled us like a whirlwind of love and resilience, I was determined to hold on to that thought. We would not retreat. But just as victory seemed within reach, a blast of darkness surged forth, threatening to snuff out our flickering light. I could hear the malicious laughter, louder now, a foreboding echo that promised it wasn't over yet. "What if this fragment of you is all I need?" It crooned, and my blood ran cold. What was it planning? A new level of fear gripped me as shadows surged, swirling around, begging to reclaim what they believed was rightfully theirs. What price would I have to pay next to protect my daughter? The shadows tightened around us, their sinister whispers wrapping my thoughts in dread. I could feel them, clawing at the edges of my consciousness, each murmur taunting my insecurities. Look at what you've done. You've failed her. They hissed, each word twisting like a blade. Emma, stay with me. I urged, my voice strained, clinging to the light flickering between us. She stood resolutely, her small form glowing brighter as we pushed against the encroaching darkness. She needed to know we could fight this. But as the shadows surged, I realized their true danger. They fed on doubt, on fear, and they were excellent at it. This is your end. The creature screeched, its voice a cacophony of malice that threatened to drown out our resolve. I felt the energy of our light starting to wane, and panic tightened its grip on my chest. No. I cried, desperation fueling a surge of energy. We can't let it win. Emma squeezed my hand, her strength resonating through me. Remember what we talked about? All those moments, the fun, the joy, the love. That's who we are. It was that instinct, that raw, unfiltered connection that pierced the veil of fear, cutting through the darkness surrounding us. I let the memories rush in her laughter when she first learned to ride a bike, the way her eyes lit up as we shared stories at bedtime, the bond that thrived on trust and understanding. Together. I shouted, and with that, a pulse of light swelled between us, pushing back the shadows inch by inch, but the figure grew more frantic, and the air thickened. You've made your choice, but what will you sacrifice? It snarled, the question weaving through my mind like an insidious vine. My doubts rattled like a dying echo. Could I truly face whatever terrible price lay ahead? Forget the sacrifice, Emma shouted, defiance burning behind her eyes. We choose each other. Suddenly, the ground below trembled, and the shadows trembled as if struck. They recoiled momentarily, alarm flashing across the creature's warped face. In that moment, I realized this was no mere battle of darkness against light, this was a clash of love against fear. Now! I called, and we channeled every ounce of joy and hope we possessed. The shadows snarled, but we pressed on, guided by memories that danced across the light. The figure's laughter turned to panic. You can't control it. It screamed, trying to reclaim its hold as we surged forward, our bond igniting the path ahead. Together, we could transform our pain into power. With that realization, reality splintered, shattering like glass. A blinding light erupted, a firestorm of memories uniting as our strength regained footing. I could feel Emma's heart tethering to mine, a fierce connection solidifying as we stood our ground against the darkness. No! It shrieked, as the swirl of our light began to consume the shadows, pulling the darkness into itself, collapsing it into the very void from which it had emerged. The hollers of anguish reverberated in the air but were met with the triumphant echoes of laughter, our laughter. As the shadows retreated, my chest tightened. Keep holding on, Emma. We're almost there. I could see her eyes widening, reflecting the spectrum of light swirling above us. With one last mighty pull, our energies combined, and the shadows tore themselves apart before us, vanishing like smoke in the wind. And suddenly, a silence fell, deep and enveloping, wrapping around us like a comforting embrace. We stood together, gasping for breath. The darkness finally dissipated. Emma looked up at me, astonished yet radiant. Did we really do that? A flood of relief washed over me. We did, I replied, trembling with emotion. We fought it together. The air felt lighter, and the ominous shadows that had once loomed over my daughter began to dissipate, leaving an aura of warmth in their wake. But just as victory began to settle in, I felt a weight in my heart. Will it come back? I wondered aloud. Dad, Emma said softly, her voice steady and clear. We can face it together, no matter what. We're stronger than anything. And just like that, I felt a flicker of hope rekindle inside me. Those shadows had wanted to exploit our fears, but we had outlasted them. With Emma by my side, I understood that we would continue to confront whatever came next, together. I love you, Emma, I said, pulling her into my arms. I'm always here, no more disappearing. We'll face this life as a team. I love you too, Dad, she whispered, her voice muffled against my shoulder. As we stood there in the soft glow, I realized it was never just about the darkness or light, it was about our bond, the unfathomable love that held us strong. And no matter the world's weight, we would rise to face it together. And with that clarity, our shadows began to dissipate, leaving us not in darkness but bathed in the precious light of our shared determination. Now, it's your turn to join this journey. Make sure to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. I can't wait to see how you feel about this conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this journey. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.